Hi, if you or your children are suffering because of your relationship with your ex-partner, because it's stressed or strained, or maybe they're just not a nice person, this show is for you. Welcome to the High Conflict Co-Parenting Podcast with Brook Olson and Charlie Jewett. Enjoy another episode now. Hello, everybody. Charlie Jewett here with the High Conflict Co-Parenting Podcast. And of course, as always, I've got Brook Olson here to teach and share his wisdom. Brooke, we're going to do episode 66, which you've entitled Parenting 101. In parentheses, we have just, showing up, which I like it already. That's when you know you have a good title, when I'm excited just by reading the title.
Yeah, parenting, showing up. That's really what it is all about. Parenting is showing up, being present, and hanging out. And when we can do that, our kids get to know that we're there, we're hanging out with them, we're showing up for them, and that's probably half the battle. The thing with parenting is it just doesn't happen. It isn't something that is just, we got it, we do it, we had a baby, I'm a parent, here we go. That's not the way that this works. How we parent our children is usually determined by how we were raised. Right. We are using our parents' template. They are using their template. They are using their parents' template. And this stuff goes back ages unless somebody somewhere along the line woke up and figured out how to do this. Now, parenting as a philosophy, parenting as a model didn't really start to take on a form until sometime in the last century. And people started to go, hey, wait a minute. This didn't come with a book. Mm-hmm. And because it didn't come with a book, we're just kind of doing what our grandma did or our grandfather did or whoever. And, we're seeing some behaviors going forward that didn't work. So let's take a look at what's working. Let's take a look at what's not working. And let's start to pull apart and see why these work and why these things don't work. So, this was part of the development of psychology. Of developmental psychology, and to begin to see human patterning. So if we looked at the way we parent, I know for me, I know the way that my grandfather parented my father. And I know how my dad was reactive to that. And I saw his brothers and sisters and how they reacted to that. And then there was so much about how he parented me that I didn't dig, that I thought was off base. And I kind of parented kind of sort of the same way and then opposite in a lot of ways. And that didn't work. So when I got into parent education, when I started taking my redirecting children's behavior teacher training and stuff, I got to really see the nuts and bolts of why this stuff didn't work, and then beginning to change the narrative into what did work. And the beliefs about what I thought was okay was so not okay. And this is what so many of our parents do. I mean, you've been in my classroom and you've heard me ask the class, and I do this consistently. It's like, how many of you guys have had a parenting class? And by and large, I'll get a hand, maybe two, sometimes nobody.
Right.
And yet you're sitting here telling me that you're a good parent. You're telling me that you know what you're doing. You know that this is taking place, and this is not how it works. So belief systems, which is what we were just talking about in the last podcast, come into our parenting styles. And these belief systems are how children receive their messages and how they take in information. And we've got three basic parenting styles. I'm going to leave the last one out because it just doesn't happen all that often. But the three basic parenting styles that we've got are autocratic, authoritative, and permissive. And I'm just kind of go through each one of these, and I'm going to spend a lot of time on one of them, but I'm going to talk about what each one of these kind of bring forward and the belief systems and how they work and why they don't work.
Yep.
So the autocratic parenting style is a parent setting boundaries. You and I, everybody knows this one. It's my way or the highway. This is the way it's going to be. We're not going to talk about it. I know better than you know. And this is just the way it's going to go down. And we're going to set hard boundaries, and you're going to know what the boundaries are. And when you cross those boundaries, there's going to be punishment. And the punishment may be corporal, the punishment may be, you're going to go pick up poop in the backyard from the dog. You're going to go scrub toilets. You're going to do whatever. And it creates a lot of fear in the children for the abusive behavior that comes out of the punishment. And they will become responsive to it until they don't. And usually when they don't, all hell breaks loose. And this is usually around puberty. And we've got teenagers that are running amok. But we've also got is children with maladaptive behaviors that are maybe showing signs of ADHD or oppositional defiant behavior or sneaking around in the background, doing things that they're not supposed to be doing, manipulative, all of these things that, again, are adaptations out of their experience to try to get needs met where they're not getting met and to feel seen, heard. We talk about negative reinforcement for our kids with this kind of negative attention that they get. And we wonder why they continue to act out is because we're giving them the attention that they're not getting in a positive reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And, the parent is determining, it's making the determination for the child about everything that's good and bad. Their child doesn't have an opportunity to go in and explore the world and see what is working and what's not working, and why it is working and why it isn't working. And the child's not a part of the discussion of what happened. It's like something went wrong, and it's just, boom, we're done. You're in trouble. Go to your room. Go pick up the dog poop. Go scrub a toilet. Go do something. And there's no conversation about what happened. And the child may not have actually done what happened, but there's no opportunity to sit down and go, wait a minute. No, this autocratic parenting is something that is just, it shuts off the expression of the child in so many ways. And it develops beliefs that are on somebody else. The beliefs that they develop are somebody else's opinion, somebody else's construct, and the inner development of the self doesn't take place in this arena. They don't learn how to process and problem solve. It's either distorted or it's inhibited. And either way, it's not effective.
Why would you have to problem solve if somebody else tells you right and wrong about everything?
Right.
You're not asked to think at all in a dictatorship like this, right? Autocratic sounds very much like a dictator.
Mm-hmm. You're
not really asked to think or being taught to think or chime in. And you're certainly not being trained to be a parent. You're just supposed to be an obedient subject.
Right. And we can see how problematic that is, right?
Yeah.
And human will has potency in it, and it wants to go in a particular direction. It wants to have its expression. And when that expression is inhibited, it's going to leak out in inappropriate ways.
Yep. Yep.
So that leads us, and I'm going to actually skip down here a little bit.
Okay.
I'm going to end on a high note when we get there.
Okay.
I'm going to go down to the permissive. So the other parenting style is permissive. And this one is kind of like the opposite of the autocratic. It's got no boundaries. Helter skelter. Do what you want to do. There's not a high expectation of the child's maturity. There's not an expectation that they're going to process and be responsible. There's a lack of structure for them. And there's an entitlement that comes out of that, because within that, They don't have to think. They don't have to be responsible. They don't have to take on chores. They don't, there's not consequence to their world. It's just kind of like, just be free, go do, flip around. This doesn't work in nature, in mammalian society, in the structures, the parents of the cubs, correct the kittens or the pups or whatever that structure is, the horses with the foals and all of that. There's corrective stuff so they don't hurt themselves, so they don't get into trouble, so they don't go outside of the herd or the tribe or whatever it is that the structure is that keeps them safe. Yeah. And this permissiveness lacks that. So the kids don't learn containment. There's not an expectation of self-regulation. And they say what they want to say, they do what they want to do, and there's no real conformity or structure to being a part of that tribe. It's like, no, I'm going to do what I want to do, and you can't stop me. There's nothing that says that I have to do that. So there's a lack of respect for authority. And the children, as they grow up to be adults, don't understand consequence. Mm-hmm. So when somebody says, no, you can't do that, there's not a look around to see, well, why is that? There's a, no, yes, I can do whatever I want. And that falls into that. And this is what comes out of the permissive parenting. And I see both of these parenting styles so often in my classes. And oftentimes they're within the family. We've got one autocratic parent, we've got one permissive parent. And they're at odds. I mean, the autocratic parent can see that the need for structure is really there and it's legitimate. And the permissive parent is looking at this and going, well, that's abusive, and that's true too. But neither one of these sets of parents are really getting the message about what's really needed for the development of the kids and how parenting in an authoritative manner is really the answer here. So authoritative parenting kind of came out of Dr. Dreikers in the 70s. He wrote a book called Children, the Challenge, and really looked at how to developmentally help children be seen, heard, that have boundaries, that they create choice and consequence. And there's this opportunity to really be a parent and be present, to show up for the kids, because this particular kind of parenting requires exactly that.
Yeah. Seems like authoritarian, or what do you call it? Autocratic, right?
Autocratic or authoritarian, yeah.
Like autocratic and permissive are the two that you get for free without any hard work. You just pick it up and you sort of like, it's your natural bent without any, like the natural thing to do every day is lay around and watch TV and not get up and exercise, but there's a lot of benefit that comes from movement, right?
Right.
These are without any work. And yeah, like taking classes and learning and treating it like any responsibility is the right, is a good thing to do. Like what we're about to talk about, I would assume, doesn't come for free. It's sort of the benefits of work and thought.
It takes time. It takes time, right? It takes showing up. It isn't just a knee-jerk reactive process like the other two are. It's, it's not being lazy. It's being here. And what our children are looking for, how they develop in a healthy way, is to have a model, to have somebody that reflects back to them. How we develop children with narcissistic tendencies is that they don't get seen, they don't get heard, they don't get acknowledged, and they don't have a sense of self in the process. So when we are there and we are in this authoritative, boundary creative, expressive relationship with our kids, they're seeing themselves. And because we're reflecting back to them what they're doing, we're reflecting back to them in a positive way who they are and what they are doing. And when things go awry, we're in conversation with them. We're not in shame of them. We're like, wow, man, what happened here? So we create a totally different piece that allows them to grow a sense of self, where they have self-respect, where they have self-regulation, where they have the ability to have some sense of empathy for others. And it happens through boundaries. I mean, this idea that boundaries are the basis, the foundation for every healthy relationship that we have is important. And we develop these boundaries with our kids as a way of safety. We're teaching them what is healthy for them and what's not healthy for them. You know, boundary, don't touch that hot stove because it's going to burn you. And then they hit the hot stove and there's a natural consequence that happens. They get burned, right?
Yep.
And the next time they go to the stove, it's like, no, there's a boundary there. I'm going to get burned. And they get that registered into their system. Then there's consequences to other behaviors that have logical consequences to them. And we want to be able to help them understand what the logical consequences are there as well. So, you know, logical consequences are, you didn't do your homework and you've got to get this done because that's the rule of the house. So until your homework's done, the playtime's off. You're not going to be able to, go out with your friends, but as soon as your homework's done, you can go. So there's that logical piece, that one to the other. Another logical consequence for a parent might look something like you didn't get that big project that's due on Monday done, and you need all sorts of products and stuff to create that project. So I'm going to help you go get those, but I had plans this weekend, and you're taking me away from those plans to help you get this done. So once this is done, you're going to help me complete my projects. So there's this relationship to what the boundary that was broken to what actually the consequence is. And these are things that create for the child choice. Yep. You know, I'm not making the choice for you. You're making the choice. And, you know, I love my grandson, just brings so much stuff into my world. I was talking to his dad last week, and he wanted to have a buddy over, or a buddy wanted to have him over. And he went to his dad and he said, do you think that I can do that this weekend? And his dad looked at him and said, what are you asking me for? You know what the parameters are? Are you within the parameters? No. Then you already know your answer. Why are you asking me? Oh. Get the parameters up to date and then come back and tell me what you're doing. You know, so he's really giving him that place of, you know, these choices are yours. And he's 16. You don't do this with a 6-year-old, but you start with a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old, and it's like they start to learn that these choices are their own because we have given them the boundary, we've given them the parameter. And what a wonderful world to be in choice, right?
Yeah.
You know, I can go buy a car because I made the choice to save the money. Wow, that was my choice. I can't buy a car because I didn't save any money.
Right.
Right. And these are the choices that take us into self-responsibility. And isn't, you know, what we're talking about in these high conflict classes all the time in these podcasts about self-responsibility? You know, I am the person that is making the choices, that is driving this bus, that is creating the situation. And if something goes off the rail, I got to look at what I did.
Yeah.
And these are the places where this authoritative parenting puts this into the child at an early age, we're really short-circuiting the conflict that happens in a person's life when they can begin to do this. They learn how to solve the problems because we sat down with them and we said, something happened here. Let's break it down and see what happened. And then let's look at how we solve that problem in real time right now. Something went wrong. We got to solve the problem. And next thing is how do we prevent it next time around? Prevention. Forethought, cognitive process. Where are we going? And then repair.
I feel like if you got into the cockpit of an airplane, you'd see what it looks like after generations of problems that people go, how do we solve that next time? Or how do we avoid that next time? I mean, I would think even flying today with the 300 or 400 dials or whatever's in there, still the entire process is problem solving. And I've talked to you about this, that you're never driving straight in a car. You're always correcting. Just
Right.
little corrections. But like that, in that cockpit example, like all of those are examples of, wait a minute, how do I know how close I am to the ground? How do we make sure this doesn't happen again? If you look at the early airplanes, they didn't have any of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then just because I'm an analogy guy, just the way my brain works, I haven't been there, but I remember listening to somebody talk about a country where there's no lines on the street. So it's really like 2 or 3 lanes with like 5 or 6 lanes of people honking at each other and just like driving completely crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like that. I don't like no boundaries, total chaos. I also don't like being trapped in the carpool lane. I'm sure not every country or state listening has a carpool lane, but we have these carpool lanes on the left where you have a guardrail on the left and a guardrail on the right. You're not allowed in or out. You're stuck there for a while, right?
Right.
I don't like being stuck there, watching my exit go by, wishing I had the choice to move over. What I really want is 3 or 4 lanes of lined highway that I can choose which lane to be in based on how fast I want to go and where I want boundaries with choice, with freedom, not complete freedom. Like permissive driving is no rules, no stoplights, no paint on the streets, just every man for himself. And then
safe.
that sort of autocratic is like I have a wall to the left, a wall to the right. I can only go straight or stop, and I can't even get where I want to go. It just takes me there,
Right. Right. Choices. And learning how to function within those choices. What are the choices that I make? Because, back to your analogy, I had a choice to get into that lane. I had a choice to get into that lane to go faster. And the consequence of being in that lane is I lost some choice, right?
I have lived here. You might know the area I'm talking about. I've lived here for 18 years now, 19 years, right? And there's that area where the 78 is the 15, and you have to get off the carpool lane or else you can't get from the 15 to the 78 going west. And it seems like you should. Like they built the whole thing, spent all the money. It's major highway to major highway with a lot of traffic. Why the heck can't you do it? But if you miss it, you're going up to the next exit. And I still miss it sometimes because that's another form of choice. Was I on the phone? Was I zoning out? Whatever. It's a choice to not purposefully remember, right?
Yeah, but you get to go by Auto Park a lot.
Get off at Hale. Yep, you get to see a lot of new cars.
Yeah. The other piece about the problem solving that I think is important, and I just touched on this, is the repair component. Relationship requires us learning how to do repair, and we're going to make mistakes. We're going to make mistakes in every single relationship that we have. And, by taking responsibility, by figuring out what went wrong, by, figuring out how not to do it again, it leads us into how do I fix what just happened? How do I do repair? And repair not being from a place of, I just have to fix this, but a repair in a place of really looking deeply into the harm that was done in the relationship. Not just seeing it as something that I lost, but seeing it as something that I damaged. and being able to sit down and take the responsibility and work through that. Because if we can't do that, we can't maintain any relationship that we've got. And we can't move forward with any relationship that we've done damage to without having it be an anchor in the relationship. And I think I've talked about this with my grandson again. You know, he's in the field with me today, but I'm going to bring it forward. Is there's a place where we spend a lot of time talking about repair. And I've seen it in him. I mean, the boy struggles in some areas, bless his heart. But he's got these components where he can sit down and really feel what he has created, and he'll go back and he'll do repair with it. And it's not just a simple, I'm sorry. It's like, wow, what can I do here to really go in and fix this in a way that we can reestablish trust? Because that's usually what has been breached in this, right?
Right. Yep.
So a part of that, is this ability to reflect, self-reflection, effect on other, and creation of the empathetic response. That's brain development. And when we're talking about people that have developed personality disorders along the way, that's a part of the brain that didn't develop. Those are the mirror neurons in the prefrontal cortex parts of the brain that didn't get fired. These neural pathways have to be created. They don't just happen. And part of parenting is reflecting what's happening for the child and taking them into a somatic response, a self-felt response of what did that feel like? What was that effect on you as it has an effect on other? And that is a part of our parenting, damn it. It doesn't just develop. And when this stuff goes awry, we're the creators. Mm-hmm. We have to be able to be in this. And again, a part of this reflection, this self-reflection, this place where we're helping our children grow into healthy human beings and having the brain development that's required here, is teaching containment. And containment of explosive emotions is an important aspect. And it doesn't just happen, it's developed. And it comes out of, how does that feel in your body? I want to scream, I want to hit the wall, I want to come undone. And being able to know that we can dial that part back and contain it, because that type of behavior is detrimental to every relationship that we have. Mm-hmm. And again, it's a part of the brain that has to develop. And when we don't use it, when it's not required, when it is allowed to happen as it is in a passive or a permissive parenting style, then when that adult shows up with that behavior, it's like, yeah, that's not going to work long term in any relationship. And that containment's got to be taught. So when we're doing this with our children, when we're parenting from this authoritative state, when that child blows up, we sit down and we model containment. We don't blow up at them. And then we look at them and we go, wow, that's a powerful reaction. What's that feel like? Ah, yeah, I can see. I wonder what would happen if we just kind of slowed this down here a little bit and what that might feel like. Because what they're trying to do is self-regulate, and we have to teach them how to self-regulate. It's not an inherent piece.
Seems like the best police officers have really gotten good at that. Like, if everybody's spazzing out and they show up and they're spazzing out, it's just nothing good happens. But they tend to come with an authoritative calming, like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, what's going on here? Like, give me the facts, right?
But they're holding space for the conversation, right? And that's our limbic nervous system. That's our limbic nervous system at work. If we're good at this, if we practice this, if we become good at this as parents, our children regulate off of us. or dysregulate off of us.
Yeah.
When we're calm, when we got it going on, they're calm. When we're losing it, they're losing it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and this happens again in mammalian societies. There is an alpha, there is a leader, there is a calm individual within the herd, the tribe, the pack, whatever it is, that is alert and is able to help everybody else regulate because they know what the hell's going on.
Like Donald Trump?
See, now I have to edit that, you son of a bitch.
There you go.
But yeah, this is the piece. This is the piece that we have to be able to do. I think you're starting to throw those in just so I do that.
Just got to keep you working.
Make me work harder. So that's teaching the pause. That's teaching that don't just do something, sit there, just hang out, feel it, know that there's nothing that has to be done here. Because isn't that one of the best tools that we have? I know for me that when I can sit there and see everything going nuts around me and just go, I don't have to do anything here. I just have to let this find its own way. That's easy. It's when I get in and I try to correct course and try to make everybody else do something else that the problem starts. Yeah. So, teaching that containment and that pause is really important.
Right. Yep.
And then a part of the authoritative parenting as well is teaching responsibility. Teaching children how to take responsibility, how to be a part of the family, how to be a part of the community. Teaching them that the understanding of other person's needs in the process is an important part of being a member of the society, the tribe, the family, and that there's something bigger than themselves that is important for the sustaining of all of it, and that they are an integral part of it, that they are an important part of it, and that when our chores are up and we need to do our chores, that's a part of maintenance of the societal piece that we're in, whether it's a family or society at large.
Right. Yep. Isn't it funny? You never escape chores if you have an HOA.
You never escape chores anywhere, any place. We have to self-sustain, and our chores are teaching us how to keep order and to get things done in a way that are healthy, that we can find things and we can feel order in our world. And these chores that we're teaching our kids to do that are part of our parenting are teaching opportunities. Mm-hmm. They're teaching our children how to be self-sufficient. We're teaching our children how to step out when they're out of our house to be able to do their own laundry, to cook their own meals, to clean their own house.
Yeah.
And to not be dependent on somebody else. With the joke about the kid going off to college and always bring the laundry home on weekends for mom to do because they don't know how to do their own laundry. What's happening? Yeah. But this is what we're preparing our children to do when we are doing that. And if we're doing it right as parents, and this is the fun part, is we're not just telling them to go do it. When they're young, we're doing it with them. We're separating laundry.
Yeah.
We're making oatmeal when they're 4 years old. We're loading the laundry into the washing machine, and, the little kid loves pressing the button because it makes it go.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there having fun with it. And that's the way it's supposed to happen. We're spending time together. They're getting praised. They're getting encouraged. And they're developing a positive self-image. And when we can do these simple things as parents, I mean, we kind of laid out an outline here, but this outline that we laid out today is so easy to fill in that we're creating healthy individuals that are going to have healthy relationships. They're not going to be dependent on somebody else to take care of them. They're going to be engaged, and they're going to find people in their world that do the same because they naturally come together. This is showing up. It's simple and it's pleasurable. Children can be fun, they can be delightful, and they're going to be challenging. And the challenges that they bring us is for our own growth.
Yeah.
They're reflections of us. And when we bump up against them, we're bumping up against ourselves. And when we can resolve that one, we're cleaning up a big mess that our ancestors have left us going forward. You know, one of the things that I think that I've used a lot along the way with the parenting is our positive anticipation things. I've talked about it in a previous podcast. Positive anticipation, or GEOs as I call them, genuine expectation opportunities, are things that we do with kids that pour all of these components in, and it's about having fun.
Yeah.
Parenting, relationship can be brilliantly fun. And when our children develop that sense of engagement with us, a sense of importance with us, a sense of attachment to us, they have a different perspective about the world. Their worldview is one of, this is a pleasant place to be. And when we're in a pleasant place, the depression or the anger or the dysfunction kind of slips away, because we feel good about being here. We feel good about our relationships, and we know how to do it. Mm-hmm. It's inherent in who we are. It's not a push. We don't have to go trying to recreate something that our parents created for us.
Yeah.
So this is parenting. This is 101. This is showing up.
I don't know if you know this, but I just went to a leadership conference, and the person that ran the entire event had us back to his house the first night, and we watched The Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith. Mm-hmm. And man, so good. It's so good. I mean, that is like, I've seen that guy, is his name Chris Gardner, I think. I've seen the actual guy speak. His finger is completely bent, because actually in the movie he's doing a push button phone, but in reality it was a rotary phone that he made all those phone calls with, and it bent the bones of his finger over the years. But that's a really good example of like showing up, whatever challenge is thrown at you, right? And staying connected and making it fun. I mean, remember when he's like sleeping in the bathroom with the kid, talking about they're in a cave and there's dinosaurs everywhere, and it's beautiful.
Yeah. Yep. And we can do it from where we're at. It is a mindset. And once you guys start to do this, if you don't do this, if you learn how to do this, it'll change everything for you. It'll change everything for your children. It'll change everything for every relationship that you have.
Yep.
It's worth traveling and getting these skills.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Thank you. All right, everybody. This has been episode 66, Parenting 101. Showing up is just, it's the first, it's almost half of it, right? But then when you show up, and I would assume, Brooke, if you want to just say in closing, I would assume that even those of us who would consider ourselves really healthy parents, we can probably have parts of us or habits that are more autocratic or more permissive that we can recognize and not throw ourselves under the bus or get all depressed, but say, wait a minute, here's an area where I'm being autocratic, where I'm not letting them speak. I'm just saying it's my way or the highway, and this is how we do it, right? And they can have a little bit more, we can make adjustments and get even better in certain areas.
Absolutely. And that self-corrective mechanism, that self-reflective piece, is how we go back and do repair. Hey, buddy, I really blew that one. I could have done that a lot better. Can I have a redo?
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week for episode 67. We'll leave it a surprise what that's going to be, but I'm sure it'll be awesome. Thanks, Brooke.
Take care. Bye.
Brooke, people don't have to wait until Friday mornings to get more content. If this is something that's helpful for them, right? This isn't the first time you've broadcast anything or recorded anything or put anything out there in the world. What are the other ways people can get the help more aggressively or speed up their recovery process? What materials are available for people right now?
Well, I've written a book called The Black Hole of High Conflict, and it's available on Amazon and Kindle.
Great.
And everything that we're talking about is really compressed and put into there. So this is a really good starter place to get in and get your mind working and to see what these concepts are about and how to start to apply them. The other place that I think that is valuable is to go to our website and look at some of the blog articles that I've written. Those are available there as well. They go into some of these other arenas, and that's at www.highconflict.net. So the book, the website are also really good places to get the material. And also we have classes. We have high conflict diversion program classes that you can get into and get some one-on-one help with this as well.
And you know me, I'm aggressive. Whatever I want to become good at or learn, I find someone who's good at it and pay them and hire them and shorten my learning curve. What if somebody just wants your help? Somebody says, Brooke has this information. He's good at something I'm not good at yet, and I want to work with him. Do you have any type of coaching or consultations or anything like that?
Absolutely, I do. I do one-on-one coaching for custody cases. I help people get ready for family court services. If you've got that in your community, I work with attorneys and clients to help them with managing and strategically setting them up to have more successful cases as well.
And how do they reach out? You want them to just go to the website or email or phone, or what's the best way for them to reach out, raise their hand, and say, I need some help?
They can email me. My direct email is Brook at highconflict.net. That's BROOK at highconflict, HIGH, conflict.net.
Perfect. That's everything everybody would need to get some help, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Brooke.